The first reading today is from Jeremiah, a very hopeful prophet, a prophet that was closest to the figure of Christ, which is the reason why, according to biblical scholars, Jeremiah prefigures no less than Christ himself, a figure of the suffering servant. But he talked about something hopeful, something about us, about me and you. He talks about the remnant of Israel. He didn't talk about the mainstream. He didn't talk about the powerful. He didn't talk about those who are privileged, those who were in public places. He talked about the remnants, the dregs, the blind, the lame, mothers with child, those who are departing in tears. What a beautiful image of our caring and compassionate God. And the clincher in today's first reading is a statement that we should never let go. I am a father to Israel. Hopeful words that we need to hear at a time when almost the whole country is bent over in shame, in suffering, bent over in shame because we are a very corrupt nation. We always talk about flood control projects ever since I was in the elementary years. And the floods are getting worse and worse because the waterways are becoming real estate, even here in Better Living, in Barangay Don Bosco. Yung mga estero, yung mga daanan ng tubig, natabunan ng mga tampalasan, naging real estate. Paliit ng paliit, kung hindi nawala. Second reading talks about the ongoing figure of the high priest, Christ, the high priest, who is able to deal with the ignorant and the erring. The high priest is not all sugar and spice and everything nice. The high priest does not tell us what we want to hear. The high priest is not a preacher. Famous preachers now only give pep talks, not homilies. They give human interest speeches in churches and not homilies. The high priest is able to deal with whom? With the ignorant, yes, and that's you and me. But with the erring, yes, and that's also you and me. He is chosen by the Father, set apart. And set apart means he does not join the privilege of the rich and the famous, and those who have power, the power brokers, and those who enjoy all the nice things, the sugar and spice and everything nice in life. In the third reading, the Gospel of Mark, we are told about somebody who was not in the mainstream, aliping sa gigilid, hindi aliping namamahay. Si Bartimeo ay nasa tabi. Wala siya sa gitna ng daan, wala siya sa harapan, wala siya kung saan mayroong lights that will put him on the spotlight. Bartimaeus sat silently beside the road. But Bartimaeus was not just a remnant, but dregs of society. Mga taong hindi pinapansin, mga taong walang kita at walang nakikita at walang pangitain din sa buhay. Si Bartimeo sat by the roadside, sa gilid, kaya aliping sa gigilid. Yung mga aliping doon lang sa tabi ng bahay, yung mga aliping namamahay, yan yung mga administrative assistant, yan ang mga may titulo, yan ang mga Girl Friday. Maraming pangalan ngayon sa lingwaheng, mga Girl Friday, mga pinagkakatiwalaan, yan ang mga money bag, mga naghahawak ng money bags. Yan ang namimigay ng 500 pesos sa gitna ng baha. Yan ang pinagkakatiwalaan. Ang mga nag-aliping sa gigilid ay nasa labas. Wala sila sa gitna, wala sila sa hapag kainan. Sa salita ngayon ng mga millennials, mga outsider, hindi siya insider. But Bartimaeus, for all his powerlessness, Bartimaeus, kahit walang kaya, walang hatak, walang 4Ps, wala siya sa listahan ng tumatanggap ng Pantawid Pilipino program. Walang patron, walang bossing. He had a voice. And this is what I'd like every one of us, including myself, to think about. We are never powerless before God. We are never nameless. We are never sagigilid. We are never useless. God did not create junk. And we have a voice before God. Bartimaeus had a voice, and his voice was plaintive. It was pleading. It was the prayer, if ever there was one. Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me. Yung taong nasa gilid, taong nasa laylayan, taong walang nagbibigay ng ayuda, taong walang inaasahan, meron siyang tinig sa harapan ng Diyos. Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me. The big lesson for us today that I'd like us to bring home: we Filipinos are never voiceless. For one thing, we are known all over the world as a singing people. Pinag-uusapan sa YouTube, sa social media, ano ba ang sikreto ng mga Pilipino? Ang sabi ng ilang mga kano, it's in the water they drink. Iba ang tubig sa Pilipinas, kaya pagdating ng 2 years old, kumakanta na yung bata. Si John Ebron Ekal, taga Sorsogon, is becoming well known. 12 years old or 13 years old. Yung Rayo brothers from Tacloban, they were victims of Yolanda. They didn't know where to go until the Rayo brothers, the Otik brothers. Their names start with R, and their middle name is Evasco, and their family name is Otik. And they found their rightful place under the sun, known now all over the world. They went even to Liverpool a number of times and had that obligatory picture taken where the Beatles took their picture back more than almost 70 years ago. The Sweet Notes, yung mag-asawang kumakanta mula Jensan, Ekal, Johnny Bron, Marcelito Pomoy. We Filipinos have a singing voice, except me, of course. And our choir has a voice, but not me. Tayong lahat ay may tinig, may pamamaraan. We Filipinos are never voiceless before God. But let's change Filipino to Christians. We Filipinos and Christians do not just capitalize on a singing voice, but a praying voice. A voice of justice, a voice of truth, not a voice of ayuda. Ang ating bansa ay kinokorrupt ng ayuda culture. Wala nang pag-asa ang mga Pinoy kundi mag-intay ng ayuda. Kung kaya yung isang politiko sa Bicol nakasakay sa bangka na namimigay ng ayudang 500 piso, parang mga busabos ang mga Pinoy na nag-iintay ng kanilang 500 piso. Yayaman sila sa 500 piso. Ang ating kultura ay parang kultura ng mga taong umaasa na lamang sa kawalan, nag-iintay ng ayuda na marami lamang pagka-eleksyon. Let us break this apart. We are not a voiceless people, but the reality is that given our sinful nature, given the fact that we were born in original sin, and we inherited the sin of Adam and Eve, we have been robbed blind by government then, and most especially now. We have been robbed blind by family dynasties that we continue to elect. At sila pa rin ang mayor, sila pa rin ang congressman, sila pa rin ang senator. At ngayon may bagong uso. Lahat ng mga laos na artista, lahat ng social media influencers, magtinda ka lamang ng pares at ikaw ay tumanyag sa social media, pwede ka rin maging congressman. Yeah, the joke about this, anong tawag dito sa ating constitution, yung public group na kahit sino, yung mga driver pwedeng maging congressman. I forgot the name. We have been robbed blind by patronage politics. Si Bossing, si Kuya, si Sir, We have been robbed blind by personage politics, and there are only about 200 names that you need to memorize to make this country come alive. And you know very well I won't name my favorite city, because this city is just as good as the other city north of us. They are all ruled by family dynasties. Number two, it is very easy for us to fall into the trap of ayuda mentality. And this is what has been going on. GMA started with 7 billion, yung sumunod naging more than 100 billion, ngayon ay hundreds of billions more. Bakit? A sure firepower, a surefire method to get botantes, bubutantes, or loyal followers. Ayuda mentality. Hindi na magtatrabaho. Bakit ako magtatrabaho? May ayuda namang inaantay. Number three, Bartimaeus did not have that ayuda mentality. Why? Sumigaw siya, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. But the Lord didn't come to him. The Lord told his disciples, call him. And Bartimaeus had to stand up. He had to work, blind as he was. He had to do his part. He had to do his part, his contribution. And so when Bartimaeus came to the side of the Lord, ang tanong ng Panginoong maawain, pero hindi politikong nagbibigay ng ayuda. What is it that you want me to do? How can I help you? Well, you helped yourself, you came to me. And what did he ask for? He didn't ask, pengi po ng ayuda, pengi po ng kapital para magsimula ako ng business, pengi po ng tricycle o ng e-bike. Hindi yun ang hiningi niya. What he said was, for the record, Lord, that I may see. Lord, that I may see. I'd like to think this is our prayer. We are all blind. Blind in some way because we are blinded by our pretended sense of entitlement. We think the government owes it to us, and yet we never take care about the trash that we throw everywhere. I have said this for the nth time. We have overcome China and Indonesia in throwing away plastic trash. We are just 110 million people compared to 1.4 billion in China, and compared to more than 250 million in Indonesia, but we are number one in throwing trash. And there is an island in the Pacific Ocean bigger than Luzon that is all made of plastic trash, and most of it comes from the Philippines. So, kung titingnan natin, akala ninyo ako'y namumulitik at sinisisi ko nasa taas, hindi. Sinisisi ko rin ang sarili ko. Because we are all in it together. This is social sin. Sin that we all don't feel guilty for, but we are all responsible for. Yung family dynasties, wag nating sisihin yung mga namumuno. Sino ba ang bumoto? Ikaw at ako. Tayong lahat. Yung mga tao nagsasamantala sa kawalan ng kaalaman ng mga Pilipino. Kaya gusto nila tayo bobo. Kaya napakababa na ng ating average IQ. Pinakamababa sa buong Southeast Asia. It's below average. When I started teaching in 1970, I was teaching in 1972. I was 16 years old, teaching grade 4 students. But I started teaching in earnest in 1975 as a third-year college student. And when I graduated in 1977, I never stopped teaching, even when I was abroad studying. I never stopped teaching. And I can tell you, when I started teaching in 1977, our IQ was not below average, like now. Bakit? Kasi nasanay sa TikTok. Number 1 tayo sa TikTok. Number 1 tayo sa ayuda mentality. Number 1 tayo sa pagsuporta kay bossing, kay sir, kay honorable, kay mayor. Napakabait, madaling lapitan. We have a big problem. Bartimaeus teaches what to do. You need to do your part. Call him, the Lord said, and he came. And that was after he said, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. And then when the Lord said, how can I help you? Take courage. Get up. Jesus is calling you. He threw aside his cloak, sprang up, and came to Jesus, who asked him, what do you want me to do for you? Master, I want to see. We want to see, Lord. We are blind. We have been rubbed blind by centuries of misgovernment, of mismanagement, by centuries of sinfulness, by decades of corruption. And we deserve better. We deserve to see more, not less. And today is our opportunity to beg the Lord. We are not voiceless. We have a good singing voice, but we also ought to have a good praying voice. Lord, that we may see.